Hi, here we are going to see about the Unit 3 optical sources and detectors, and the topic is about laser diodes, lasing conditions, semiconductor injection laser diodes, and laser Fabry Perot cavities. So first we are going to see about the laser diode. What is meant by laser? So laser is an acronym for light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. So semiconductor laser sources are generally known as the laser diode, or it is specially known as injection laser diodes. So the lasing medium can be gas, liquid, and insulating crystal or semiconductor. So it is especially for long distance semiconductor laser diodes are used as optical sources, and this is mainly because its output radiation is highly monochromatic, and also the light beam is very directional. So the ideal laser light has single wavelength only. So it is formed in the parallel beams, and both are in the single phase, and it is called as the coherent phase. So next we are going to see about the principle of operation. So the laser action is result of three key process, that is photon absorption, spontaneous emission, and stimulated emission. So the process are represented by simple two energy level diagrams, that is E1, that is lower energy state level, and E2, which is higher energy state level. So photon absorption. So when a photon with an energy h mu 12 is equal to E2 minus E1 is incident on an atom. So an atom is initially in the lower energy state E1, and it will get excited into higher energy state E2. So through the absorption of photon. So this process is referred to as stimulated absorption. So now we are going to see that is incident photon energy E is equal to E2 minus E1, that is equal to h mu equal to hc by lambda. Here Planck's constant h is equal to 6.626 into 10 to the power of minus 34 joules per second, and c is the velocity of the light in free space, and v is the frequency of the light, and lambda is the wavelength. So when an atom is the higher energy state E2, and it will make a transition to lower energy state, a higher energy state, that is E1, and this emission process can occur in two ways, that is spontaneous emission and stimulated emission. So first we are going to see about the spontaneous emission. So spontaneous emission, which will occur when an atom in a higher energy state level, that is E2, will returns to the lower energy state in a random manner by its own, and then releasing the difference in energy in the form of photon, such that E2 minus E1, that is equal to h mu 12, that is equal to frequency of emitted photon. So it also gives the incoherent radiations. So this is a spontaneous emission initial state diagram and the final state diagram. So next we are going to see about the stimulated emission. So the stimulated emission is one which will occur when a photon having equal energy difference between two states, that is E2 minus E1, and which will interact with an atom, and which will give causing the lower state with the creation of second photons, that is emitted photons. So this process will give the coherent radiation. So here it was shown that the initial state of the stimulated emission and final state of the stimulated emission. So here in phase there we have used the two approximated quality of photon lights. So the ratio of the stimulated emission rate to spontaneous emission rate is given by stimulated emission rate by spontaneous emission rate equal to 1 divided by exponential of h mu by kt minus 1. So in general, the spontaneous emission rate is far more dominant than the stimulated emission when an atomic system is in thermal equilibrium state. So the spontaneous emission will result in photons, and it will random phase relationship, and LED acts as an incoherent source. So the spontaneous emission results in the photons uh, with a random phase relationship, and LED acts as an incoherent source. So the ratio of the stimulated emission rate to absorption rate, which will be under the thermal equilibrium, and it can be expressed as stimulated emission rate by absorption rate equal to exponential of minus E of E2 minus E1 divided by KT. So the rate of the stimulated emission under the thermal equilibrium is less than the absorption. So in order to make the stimulated emission dominates over the absorption, it is necessary to create the situation such that the population in the higher energy level is more than at the lower energy level. So next is the population inversion. So it means at the thermal equilibrium, the density of the excited electrons is very small, and most of the photons will be incident on the system and will be absorbed. So the stimulated emission is essentially negligible, and the stimulated emission will exceed the absorption only if the population of the excited states E2 is greater than that of the ground state, that is E1. So this condition is known as the population inversion. So at a non-equilibrium condition, the population inversion can be achieved by various pumping techniques. So pumping will involve the use of the intense radiation of short duration, such as a optical flash lamp or radio frequency field, so that the atoms can gain the sufficient energy from external sources. Advantages. So the laser diodes emits coherent light, whereas the LEDs will emit the incoherent light. So the radiant output power from the laser is greater than that of the LED. So the lasers can be used at higher bit rates than LEDs. And also the next one is laser generates the monochromatic light, which will reduce either chromatic or wavelength distortion. So the good spatial coherence will be occur in the laser diodes. The main disadvantages of both is lasers are typically 10 times more expensive than the LEDs. It will be operate at a laser higher power, than they typically have much shorter lifetime than LEDs. So the lasers are more temperature dependent than LEDs. So next one is semiconductor injection laser diode. So the semiconductor laser diodes are normally preferred over the LED for an optical fiber communication system, whereas bandwidth which is required greater than the approximately 200 megahertz. So the laser diodes have response time which is less than 1 nanosecond, optical bandwidth of 2 nanometer or less, high coupling efficiency. Laser diodes are multi-layered and smaller temperature dependence. So the stimulated emission in semiconductor laser arises from optical transitions between the distribution of energy states in the valence and conduction bands. So the radiation in the laser diode is generated with Fabry-Perot resonator cavity. Next one is Fabry-Perot cavity. So in early injections, the laser had the form of Fabry-Perot cavity, often fabricated in the gallium arsenide, which was major third and fourth compound semiconductor with the electroluminescent properties at appropriate wavelength. So the basic structure of this homojunction is in the laser diode Fabry-Perot resonator, a pair of flat partially reflecting mirrors are directed towards each other in order to enclose the cavity. So the purpose of these mirrors is to provide a strong optical feedback in the longitudinal direction, thereby converting the device into oscillator. So the laser are oscillators which is operating at an optical frequency. So the oscillator is formed by resonant cavity which will providing a selective feedback. So this cavity is much smaller and being approximately 250 to 500 micrometer long. So 5 to 15 meter wide and zero point 0.1 to zero point 0.2 micrometer thick. So these dimensions are commonly referred to as the longitudinal, lateral and transverse dimension of the cavity. So next one is distributed feedback laser diode. So the feedback is provided by corrugated gratings and which are incorporated along length of the active region. So this grating acts more like an optical filter to select the particular wavelength which is fed back to gain medium for lasing, and as a result no separate mirror is required. So such laser diodes are called distributed feedback laser diodes. So next one is distributed Bragg reflector laser diode. So in DBR laser diode, the grating is incorporated only in the passive region, unlike in the entire pumped region in the case of DFB laser. So both DFB and DBR laser diodes will oscillate at a single longitudinal mode, unlike Fabry-Pillot laser diodes which generally oscillate at a multiple longitudinal modes. Next one is double heterostructure laser diodes. So the injection laser diodes which is generally fabricated with double heterostructure configuration to have a better carrier and optical confinements that will lead to the smaller threshold current for lasing, and radiation properties also gets improved. So heterojunctions is an interface between the two adjoining single crystal semiconductors with different band gap energies. So in the double heterostructure configuration, narrow band gap materials forming the active region is generally sandwiched between two layers of wider band gap materials. So a typical gallium arsenide or aluminum gallium arsenide double heterostructured injection laser diode is shown. So in this laser diode, a thin layer of N-type gallium arsenide is sandwiched between the two thicker layers of P and N aluminum gallium arsenide. The schematic structure of N aluminum gallium arsenide or P gallium arsenide or P aluminum gallium arsenide. So injection laser diode structure along with the energy band diagram with the refractive index profile and photon density distribution. So when the structure is forward biased, the electrons are injected from the N-type aluminum gallium arsenide region into the gallium arsenide region. So the energy barriers on two sides of the gallium arsenide active regions will prevent the carriers from diffusing away from this region. So due to this carriers, it is forced to confined in this region where the population inversion has been already created as from the energy band diagram. So due to this the carriers are forced to confined in this region where the population inversion has already been created from energy band diagram. So in the lateral direction, the confinement is achieved with the help of spectral structural design such as gain guided or index guided. So the normalized waveguide thickness of a 3-layer slab waveguide can be expressed as D equal to 2 pi d by lambda into root of Na squared minus Nc squared. Here D is the thickness of the active region, Na and Nc are values of the refractive index for active and cladding region. So the optical confinement factor is defined as the fraction of electromagnetic energy of the guided mode that is confined in the active region, and it is expressed as confinement equal to d squared by 2 plus d squared. Next one is modes and threshold conditions. Here what do you mean by modes of cavity? So it means the optical radiation within the resonance cavity of laser diode which will sets up a pattern of both electric and magnetic field lines is called the modes of cavity. So the two modes are available in the optical cavity. They are transverse electric modes and transverse magnetic modes. So each set of the modes can be described in terms of longitudinal, lateral, transverse, half sinusoidal variation of electromagnetic fields along the major axis of the cavity. So for longitudinal modes, so the longitudinal modes are related to length L of the cavity, and it determines the principal structure of frequency spectrum of emitted optical radiation. So since L is much larger than the lasing wavelength of approximately 1 micrometer, that is L is equal to m into lambda by 2, where m is an integer. So next one is lateral modes. So the lateral modes lie in the plane of the p-n junction, and these modes will depend on sidewall preparation and width of the cavity. So it determines the shape of the lateral profile of a laser beam. The next one is transverse modes. So the transverse modes are associated with electromagnetic field and beam profile in the direction perpendicular to plane of the p-n junction. So these modes will determine the laser characteristics such as radiation pattern and threshold current density. Threshold conditions. So to determine the lasing conditions and the resonant frequencies, an electromagnetic wave propagating in the longitudinal direction is E of z comma t is equal to I of z e power j omega t minus beta z, where I of z is the optical field intensity, omega is the angular frequency of radiation field, and beta is the propagation constant. So next one is lasing. So lasing is the condition at which the light amplification will become possible in the laser diode. So the condition for lasing is that a population inversion can be achieved. So the radiation intensity at a photon energy h mu varies exponentially with the distance z, that is it transfers along the lasing cavity according to the relationship as I of z is equal to I of 0 into exponential of completion g of h mu minus alpha bar h mu into z. So here alpha bar is the effective, here alpha bar is the effective absorption coefficient of material in the optical path, and confinement is the optical field confinement factor or fraction of optical power in active layer. So G is the gain coefficient, and h mu is the photon energy, and z is the distance travels along the lasing activity. So optical amplification of selected modes is provided by feedback mechanism of optical cavity. So the lasing occurs when the gain of the guided modes exits above optical loss during one round trip through the cavity, that is z equal to 2l. So during this round trip, only the fractions R1 and R2 of optical radiations are reflected from the two laser ends 1 and 2 respectively, where R1 and R2 are the mirror reflectivities or Fresnel reflection coefficient, and it is given by R is equal to N1 minus N2 divided by N1 plus N2 the whole squared. So now the expressions for this lasing condition is modified as I of 2L is equal to I of 0 R1 R2 exponential of 2L confinement G h mu minus alpha bar h mu. So next one is lasing conditions. So at the lasing threshold, a steady state oscillation takes place, and the magnitude and the phase of the return wave must be equal to those of the original wave. So the condition of lasing threshold is for amplitude I of 2L is equal to I of 0, and for phase it is e power minus j2 beta L equal to 1. So for lasing threshold equal to optical gain equal to total loss in the cavity, that is alpha t. So from the equation, the above conditions are expressed as confinement GTH is equal to alpha T equal to alpha bar plus 1 by 2 ln of 1 by R1 plus R1 R2. So confinement GTH is equal to alpha bar plus alpha end. So that is GTH is equal to alpha bar plus 1 by 2 ln 1 into 1 by R1 R2. So that is G is greater than or equal to GTH. So it will also express that alpha end corresponds to the end loss of cavity, and it is determined by the reflectivities of the mirrors. So for 100% confinement, confinement is equal to 1, and the equations can be expressed as GTH. So every year this will be the lashing conditions of the steady state oscillation conditions. Thank you.